turn it over here to my boss, Timothy Miner, who's the area director for the Fort Worth office. After that, we're going to have Mr. Basil Singh and Ms. Kendra Jefferson. And as you can see, they have their titles listed on there. They're going to speak a little bit about who they are, what they do. And Mr. Basil Singh out of the Dallas office is going to give you some statistics from the OSHA perspective that Mr. Bob just alluded to here previously. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Tim. Tim, it's on you, sir.
All right. Good morning, everyone. As JP just said, I'm with the Fort Worth OSHA office. Our location is 8713 Airport Freeway, Suite 302. Phone number is 817-345-4321. And I am the area director. I'm responsible for 38 counties. And currently we have 11 compliance officers, 1 retired. We have 2 assistant area directors. Next slide.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Basil Singh, and I'm the director for the Dallas area office located in Texas. And I'm proud to be here, and we do this every year. And Bob, I appreciate you inviting us to come down and talk to everyone. This is a great alliance that we've had, and we appreciate all the things that you guys are doing. I actually have 12 compliance officers now, 1 just retired, and we cover 26 counties. We have 2 assistant area directors, and I want to thank JP for putting these slides together because I still do not have a cast. But with that being said, I appreciate all the things you guys are doing out there, and hopefully together, collectively, we'll be able to make some changes. Every year we talk about this, and hopefully we will do all those things to make these changes. Next slide.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kendra Jefferson. I am the Assistant Regional Administrator for Cooperatives and State Programs. So my unit coordinates the state plan operations, consultation, voluntary protection program, compliance assistance, partnerships, alliances, and Susan Harwood grants. We support OSHA's mission through outreach and education and training throughout Region 6. And I wanted to please welcome you to contacting me so we can better serve you. And please allow us to collaborate and move forward in making safer and healthier working conditions. So thank you for allowing us to be here. It is our great pleasure. And now I will give this back to Mr. Singh.
Good. Well, next slide, please. And as Bob talked about earlier, there's always, the BLS, keeps these statistics for all of us. And a lot of this information you can actually go on the internet and find out what they are. But BLS reported 5,333 work-related fatalities for 2019. And this is the latest data that we have. And 2.5% increase over 2018. Well, I want to share briefly, and I'll get Tim to say it. As of right now in my office, I have 26 fatalities, and 2 of those involve ladders, where individuals actually were killed while working on ladders. So those are personal things for all of us, including myself and Tim. Of the 532 work-related fatalities, slips, trips, and falls continue to be accounted for 880 fatalities. And which is 70%, and 95% of those were related to ladder use, which is 11% of all fatalities. And I want to say at least 1 fatality in each area office occurs every year in Region 6, and which I believe that's 1 too many. Next slide. Work-related fatality 2019, as you can see, transportation continues to lead, and unfortunately this happens, and guys are still backing over each other with trucks and in parking lots on the construction sites. And slips and falls continue to be the next one that's in line with that. And of course, contact with objects, workplace violence, it seems to be up. And also exposure to harmful substances is still on the horizon. The fires and explosion, it don't happen as often as as everything else, but when it does, unfortunately, we lose a lot of bodies on those because it affects a large amount of individuals when these occurrences occur. Next slide, please. ladder violations were the 7th most cited violations in 2020. You know, and as Bob alluded to, this continues to be the top 10 throughout, as far as I can remember. It's always been in the top 10. So hopefully this training that we're providing today and all the things that we're doing, hopefully it will remove it one of these days. It's my 5th year of doing this and it's still in the top 10. Hopefully at some point in time it'll be removed. You know, in construction standards, 1926, 1053 talks about the violation of ladder standards, and occupational fatalities caused by falls is a serious public health, as we talked about, public problem. And, you know, this continues to happen, and, you know, and it's account for 8% of all occupational fatalities for trauma. There were 3,300 violations resulted in over $5,060,296 in fines. And these penalties across various businesses and sectors. I will tell you that, you know, in the 2 fatalities we have were small employers, and it happens frequently, small employers. And I know you guys are going to talk more about the different types of ladders. I know Bobby alluded about how we use ladders and the training. The problem we have is selecting ladder selections. Guys are still standing on step ladders, 6 foot, and falling off and dying. So the selection of those particular ladders and the training on those specific ladders is very important. So take the right ladder to the right job for the task at hand and ensure we train on what we do and how to use those ladders. Because we have great ladders out there and they're safe, you just got to use it properly and make proper selections. Next slide. And as you can see, the standard for 1926-1053 for ladders, you can see how many citations were written totally, and in construction continues to be, I like to say problematic. When you have 1,431 inspections, that is a lot. And compared to general industry, which we only had approximately, according to this statistics, are 27. So construction continues to be problematic in that sense. And a lot of times we have to help the small employers. Guys need to do inspection of the ladders, make sure that they take the right appropriate ladder for the task at hand. You know, most guys make sure that they have, instead of using the 8-foot ladder, they use the 12-foot ladder. And small employers, you know, they have to purchase these ladders to make it work. So we just got to educate them and help them along the way. Next slide. OSHA investigated 150 ladder-related fatalities between October 1st, 2018, and September 30th, 2020. And Region 6 had 21 ladder fatalities between these dates. And like I stated, you know, I already have 2 fatalities in my office related to ladders. And hey, Tim, you could articulate any particular ladders you've had in this year or last year?
Yeah, between these particular dates in my office, we had, that I recall, we had at least 4 fatalities. And some of them were general industry and some were construction. So the reason I recall these particular fatalities, like Basil said, anytime we have a fatality, it rings true for us. We have to write 2 condolence letters. So that's how we remember them. We have, like you said, we have a lot of fatalities. We're trying to work on that, but we remember them because we have to write those condolence letters. So, all right, Basil, go ahead.
I just want to articulate what Tim is talking about. These are personal matters for area directors because, you know, not only we write these letters, but the Secretary of Labor also writes letters. See the family members, it's called next of kin letters. But also we reach out to the family members and talk to them. And, you know, my last fatality that I've had in my office, you know, the guy fell off it was a 6-foot ladder, step ladder. You know, you don't think that's dangerous. If you fall backwards and you hit your head, it's not a good thing. And what's really, really sad about these situations that it's normally a family member working with each other. And it's a tragic thing that happens. So I'm hoping that this training and those of you who are listening to us, it's a serious matter. And it's a dangerous thing. So I hope that we all could become better in what we do and help all those employers out there becoming more safer and using the right ladders for the right job. With that being said, that's all I have. And next slide. That's our normal disclaimer. JP, we appreciate you putting up the disclaimer. And other than that, I'll turn it back over to Bob. Thank you for your time and patience, allowing us to speak to you guys.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I wanted to thank my boss, Ms. Kendra Jefferson and Mr. Basil Singh. I'll turn it back over to you, Bob.
Thanks, JP. Yep, thank you all. A good oversight. Right now, we're privileged to have Dave Francis from Little Giant representing the American Ladder Institute talk to us about ladder safety, and I know he has a great message to share. Dave, I turn it over to you.
Is my screen, am I sharing my screen and you guys can hear me okay? Everything's good?
I can hear you, but I can't see your screen yet.
Okay. Control room, can you guys click that over? Is that possible?
You should be able to just go in and just say share screen, and it should share your screen.
I've never had to write the letter to the family, which is a sobering thought. I've shared in the emotion of it, but I've never had to actually write the letter.
We have you on now, Dave.
All right. So we are, again, thank you, Bob, for putting this on, and thank you for the intro, the severity of what we're talking about. And the question that we have and what we want to talk about is not only what's ladder safety. You're all professionals. You know what ladder safety is, but what can we do on the job sites to improve it? And what can we do as an industry to make it better by design? So OSHA's motto of plan, provide, train, we need to plan out, plan for the dangers, plan around the dangers. If we can do the job from the ground, that needs to be planned ahead of time instead of having to get into those off the ground situations. So if we can plan around the use of ladders, that's going to be the best practice. If we need to use ladders or work at height, then we need to provide the right ladder for the job, and we need to train so that they are using that product in the right way. So plan around it, provide the right product, and then train so that people are using the product in the correct manner. So why do we continue to make ladders the same as we did 100 years ago, just with a different color, and give it to employees and expect that they'll have any different outcome than they did last year or last decade or the last century? Falls continues to be a leading cause of injury on the workplace because ladders haven't changed in my lifetime until quite recently. So we're going to not only talk about ladder safety, but we're going to talk about kind of the problems and solutions, new technologies that are out there, things that you should be aware of that can make the working at height safer by design. So let's talk about why somebody takes a risk on a ladder, because we just heard that even from a 6-foot ladder, they had a fatality just recently. That fall with that impact generates thousands of pounds of force and moves your organs from one side of your body to the other. That's why automotive and ladders and falls continue to be number one and number two because they involve impact that moves everything from one side to the other. So why would I take a risk to do something I know I'm not supposed to on a ladder? Well, the reason is choices. And the choices that I make on ladders are based on experience. So I did it before and I got away with it. So I might have overreached last week or last month or last year, but my ladder was either level or leaning a little bit this direction. This time I overreached the exact same distance, but my ladder is leaning a little bit to the other direction. Now it goes over very quickly. So it's a matter of choices. I've been using a ladder since I was a little kid on a playground, and I've done it before, and so I'm gonna do it again. And then at some point, the parameters of that setup change, and we have an accident. So what are the basics? What do you need to teach your employees or share with your counterparts? 4 basics that I want to cover today. Choose the right ladder for the job. Make sure you have the right piece of equipment. Inspect it to make sure that it's in like new condition. Once you do those 2 things, you eliminate the ladder as being a possible cause of the accident. If you're using the right ladder for the job and it's in like new condition, it will almost never be the cause of an accident because ladders are built at a 4-to-1 safety ratio. So for every 300-pound rating that we put on a ladder, we test it at 1,200 pounds before we ship it to the customer. So it's just going to be overbuilt for the dynamic loads that people use day to day on a ladder. So choose the right one, inspect it. Then we have to talk about the user, the technician, the climber. They need to set it up, handle it properly, set it up properly, know how to secure a ladder, and then how to climb it. So we want to eliminate the user as the possible cause of an accident with the last 2. So choose the right ladder for the job. What do I mean? Actually, you know what? I jumped over my very favorite picture. Sorry. This is my favorite picture. My favorite picture changes from time to time. And this one's my favorite right now. I don't know how they got in this position. I do want to point out that they're framers. They're just trying to get the job done. But this is why we teach ladder safety, because people cut corners, take risks, do stuff to get the job done. They're not trying to be unsafe. They're just trying to get the work done. So when I say choose a ladder, what do I mean? The first rule of choosing a ladder is make sure that you're on a ladder. Stay off of countertops, stay off of chairs, stay off of desks. When you walk into an office, this actually happened to me at the Department of Labor in Washington, D.C. at a big OSHA roundtable. The IT guy walked into the room of safety officers and pulled the chair into the middle of the room to get to the projector. Stay off the chairs, stay off carts, pallets, buckets, anything on a job site that you can gain height with shouldn't be used. You should use a ladder or a lift that's designed to be for you to work at heights. So first rule of choosing the right ladder is choose a ladder, make sure you're choosing the right one. We default to fiberglass because it's non-conductive. Aluminum conducts electricity, should never be used around any kind of open currents. Fiberglass is kind of the default in the United States. 300 pounds or 375, the rating on a ladder includes you, your clothes, your boots, your work belt, and anything that you're carrying up and down the ladder. It really doesn't get to a heavy-duty construction until about 250. Most companies default to 300 pounds or 375 because ladders are communal in nature. So I might be using the ladder over here on something that's non-electrical, but I climb down to get a tool, Bubba's gonna take my ladder. He's gonna walk over and use it on something electrical, and he's gonna be close to the 300 pounds. That's why they named him Bubba. So ladders are communal. We plan for everybody on the job site, not just for the one person. Rarely is it a one-person ladder, or used by just one person, I should say. Style is key. Style is important. A-frame ladders should be used in an open position as a work platform. You should never transition from an open A-frame to a landing or a roof. Even if it's a 10-foot A-frame, it shouldn't be used to transition. An extension ladder or a straight lean-to ladder is meant to transition to greater heights. So A-frames are meant to be worked from. Extensions are usually meant to transition to greater height. Now, this is kind of a gray area because recently ladder companies kind of messed up what we were telling people for 50 years. People were using their A-frames, closing them and leaning them against the wall. The rule never was, don't lean an A-frame against the wall. The rule was ladders should be used for their intended purpose. And ladder companies never intended you to use an A-frame in that position. Since then, ladder companies, all ladder companies have designed A-frame ladders that are specifically designed to be used in the closed position. The back legs need to lock into place so that they don't swing out and make contact with the ground. The top cap needs to have a pad on it so that it's going against the wall. Just because newer ladders are designed to lean, that doesn't mean old grandpa A-frames can now be leaned. The ladder should have a sticker on it that says this is an acceptable position. So that's the gray area. We don't want people to see other people doing it and think that their older A-frame is now okay to do it. It can only be done with a leaning step ladder that's designed to be used in that position. What do you do in a staircase? This is a question that we always get. Crazy ladder pictures from the internet, people using ladders in staircases incorrectly. Little Giant is the pioneer almost 50 years ago, since our founder introduced the first multi-purpose ladder on the US market that was designed originally by a house painter to work in a staircase position. We don't want you to get creative and set up some other contraption when working in a staircase. Know that any big box store, any supply house, all ladder companies make a articulating multi-purpose ladder that will go safely in a stairwell. So don't create some other setup. Know that there are products designed to do that safely and get you into those positions. So choose the right ladder, right material, right weight rating, right style. Now you have to pick the right size. And this is a human nature discussion because, again, down to choices. If I have the choice of choosing a 4-foot or a 6-foot ladder, that's what I will carry. If I need an 8-foot, I'm gonna still use my 6-foot and I'm gonna cheat. So what do people do? They know that OSHA doesn't want you standing here on this top step. There's a sticker that tells you not to do it. And never should you stand on the top cap of the ladder. Nothing to hang on to. Ladder will tip. Those are catastrophic tip and fall accidents. So on a 6-foot A-frame, I should only stand 4 feet off the ground. Well, if I can't reach, do I make the choice to go back and get a different ladder, or do I cheat and go higher on the ladder than I should? We like to make our ladders multifunctional so that instead of making the choice, you can just rotate the ladder into a taller ladder. Now you can use 7 feet of ladder instead of 4. Know that those types of ladders are on the market and take away the need to make the choice, but we don't want people cheating and going up here higher on the ladder than they should. Extension ladders. Extension ladders are misleading because a 20-foot long extension ladder is only 17 feet long. We've been lying to you for the last 100 years. It's two 10-foot sections that add up to 20 feet. So ladders are sold by their total length. Ladders have to have 3 feet of overlap in order for them to be usable. So a 20-foot extension ladder is only 17 feet long. If you're going to a roof or a landing, you would need at least 3 feet of overlap above that roof line. So if I was going to a 20-foot landing, my ladder is 3 feet shorter than I needed it to be. I need 3 feet more than the 20-foot landing. I actually need a 28-foot extension ladder to reach a 20-foot landing. So plan ahead, plan, provide, train, make sure people have the right tool for the job. And sometimes that just means the right size. Don't let them choose, because they'll always choose a lighter, smaller ladder and then cheat on it. Make sure that you're planning with the right piece of equipment for your technicians and workers. Once you've chosen the right ladder for the job, how often do you need to inspect it? Before the start of every shift, before each use. Certainly the first time I'm going to use a new ladder, I want to know what kind of condition it's in. We highly recommend the NIOSH app. The logo on the App Store looks something like this. It's a free download. If you're a safety professional, I highly recommend that you have it. It allows you to teach a ladder safety class just from the prompts, or scroll in and go to the inspection part, choose an A-frame or an extension, and then walk through a detailed inspection of the ladder by touching the green dots. It tells you what to look for in those spots on a ladder. What do you need to look for? The feet on your ladder are the most overlooked item on a ladder. The feet are made of a softer rubber material with tread that's designed to grip the ground at the proper angle. If that tread is worn, those feet need to be replaced. Ladder companies make replacement feet. Don't ever let your workers use a ladder with worn or broken feet. That's their connection to the ground, just like the tires on your vehicle. If they're worn or damaged, you need to replace them, not sell the car. So ladders in bad condition can be the cause of an accident because we don't know what they're rated for. A ladder in new condition is going to hold 4 times its rating, so we can eliminate it as just being something that's going to break underneath us. We need to make sure it's in good condition. Side rails, if they're bent, broken, cracked, or split, don't use it. If you're going to cut your ladders up, cut them down the middle. Aluminum is less abrasive than fiberglass. Fiberglass will wear your saw blades out. If you cut your ladders this way, they become unclimbable, and nobody can take the pieces out of your dumpster and use them and get hurt, which has happened. So make sure if you're going to destroy your ladders, you cut them down the middle, not into climbable sections. Rungs need to be free from any kind of debris. There's tread in the extrusion of a rung that holds your foot in place. If those little ridges are filled with dirt or tar or paint, your foot will slip from that step or rung. You need to make sure that those are clean and free of any kind of debris. Your ropes, pulleys, spreader bars, all of your connections need to be tight and in place. Most of all, the ladder needs to be secure and have no movement when you climb on it. So if you have any questions about the safety of the ladder in its design or inspection, make sure they talk to a supervisor. They have the freedom to tag that out, get it out of service. You don't want the ladder accident to cause because they're using a damaged product. Now, how does a ladder get damaged? Usually in transportation. So it's when somebody takes the ladder, throws it in, or takes it out of the truck and drops it on the ground, that the side rails are damaged. Just the load alone isn't enough to damage the material. It requires impact, and impact comes from throwing it in and out or tipping it over on the job site. So whenever there's any kind of a tip on the site, the ladder needs to be re-inspected, and then on a periodic basis, because just the transportation of the ladders will cause damage that could cause an accident. So we've eliminated the ladder. We've got the right one, it's in good condition. So what about the user? What about me? How do I set my ladder up correctly? Well, we want to make sure that it's level. We want to make sure that it's secure. And that's kind of the best practice word that OSHA's written into several of the paragraphs in the 1926 standard, is secure in place. Anytime that you can or should, because of the setup, if there's any tip to it, if there's any softness in the ground, if it's a high traffic area, or if it's just best practice, the ladder needs to be secured in place. To secure a ladder in place, you should stake it at the base and then strap it at the top. A bungee cord to a rain gutter is not a sufficient tie-off for a ladder. It'll never hold in that stress, especially on a ladder that's going to have multiple people going up and down onto a roof. That ladder needs to be secured in place with a 500-pound or better nylon strap or anchor point that's going to an engineered anchor point. So secure in place, set it up level. You know, handling is a huge issue when it comes to the number of claims that you're going to face with ladder-related accidents. The reason is ladders are big and bulky. It's been funny since the 1920s, or serious, I should say, since the 1900s when Charlie Chaplin was doing this in his black and white films. But anywhere you go with a ladder on your shoulder, it's 7 feet in front of you and 7 feet behind you. It will hit people or do property damage to door frames or walls. That ladder needs to be elevated in the front, and you need to have control as you take it from the truck to the job site and set it up. One thing that I say as a best practice that you can teach to your people, if they're ever setting a ladder up and they lose control because of the balance of a 24-foot or 28-foot extension ladder is 14 feet long. If you have a 5-foot or a 6-foot employee, they're just not even at the halfway mark. So as they're standing that up, if they lose control, they need to step back and let the ladder fall. An operator sticking their hands in the rungs trying to prevent the ladder from falling once it's started will just pull them into the accident. So stepping away, letting the ladder fall, hopefully it's not hitting any property or people, but then re-inspect the ladder, make sure that it's not damaged or modified in any way before it's brought back up. But don't reach into a ladder fall, it's just gonna pull you into the accident. So set it up secure, set it up level, set it up at 75 degrees. Now this is straight out of OSHA and ANSI stickers on the side of the ladder. You need to set your ladder up at 75 degrees, which means a 4-to-1 safety ratio. So I think we have a clip of that. 4-to-1 means for every 4 feet you go up, you need to come out away from the base a foot for every 4 feet up you go. So there's a trick to that you need to know and you need to teach your employees, especially in an extension ladder. A-frames are already designed at a 75 degrees, but instead of measuring or calculating 4 feet up, doing a math problem, firefighters figured out that everybody is built at a 75-degree indicator, or 4-to-1. So if you put your feet at the bottom of the ladder and hold your arms straight out so that your palms, not the tips of your fingers, but you should be able to close your hand on that rung, you'll set your ladder up at 75 degrees every time. So firefighters, before they climb an extension ladder, they hold their arms out. Before you do it at home or at work, make sure that you're holding your hands out. Now, why is that important? That ladder is too steep, it'll come over from the top. If it's too shallow, it'll slide out from underneath. If you set it up right at 75 degrees, which is how we built the ladder and how we tested it, that will allow you to set it up how we know it's going to hold in place. So 4 to 1, stick your hands out, palm of the hand on rung at shoulder height. Now that you've got it set up properly, secured in place, make sure that the ground isn't going to be muddy or snowy underneath you. That could cause the ladder to shift while climbing, go down to a solid surface. Now it's up to you as the individual to make sure you're climbing properly. Now these next 3 rules, if you don't remember anything about our presentation about safety, except for these things, I need you to remember at least this last one, because this is the most critical. When you're climbing a ladder, we need you to face the ladder at all times. OSHA standard says face it as you climb up and down. Ladder manufacturers say face it all the time. Never turn around and work from a ladder away from the ladder. Maintain 3 points of contact as you ascend and descend. This is confusing to some people because it is quite hard to do if you're familiar with ladders and go up and down them. 2 feet, 1 hand, 2 hands, 1 foot. It actually requires a lot of concentration to go up a ladder to 3 points of contact. In the standard, if you're running your hands up the side rails of that ladder, it does say you have to maintain contact with the side rails with at least that 3rd point of contact. Most climbers that do it on a daily basis run their hands up the side rail to maintain contact and control of the ladder as they go up and down. Some people teach it hand over hand, rung over rung. So it depends on your company's operating procedure or safety procedures. So be aware that it might change from company to company or general contractor to general contractor. Number 1 rule that I need you to remember, I'm going to jump up here to do it. When you climb a ladder, we've made this choice over and over in our lives that we're going to reach to grab something, but if it's outside of this side rail, how comfortable are we with this one-legged, come down here, with this one-legged and then overreaching to try and get the job done without just stepping down, move the ladder over and climb back up. When we look at the statistics, all of the disabling or fatal accidents involving ladders involve falls from height that usually involve overreaching. Now, overreaching is compounded by how level the ground is. Again, if my ladder is flat and I've overreached multiple times, and then I go set it up someplace else and my ladder is leaning, that same overreach will then have a different equation that causes a fall. So the number 1 rule of ladder safety is keep your belt buckle between the side rails of your ladder. Never overreach and try and go outside of your footprint. So climb down, move your ladder over, climb back up. You want to teach it, whether it's center of body, belt buckle, however it's written up. People need to know, don't take that risk of doing the one-legged balance to try and grab one last thing. That's how all of the terrible ladder reports, accident reports go, is I was trying to grab that one last thing and then it went over fast. So you picked the right ladder for the job. Fiberglass, 300 pounds, the right style, the right height. You inspected it to make sure that it was in good condition. You set it up so that it was level, it was secure. You had 3 feet above the roof line so that you had something to transition on and off the roof with. You climbed it 3 points of contact facing the ladder. Never carry any bulky items or tools that might cause you to lose your balance and fall. So if you can't carry it safely and maintain 3 points of contact, that needs to be brought up on a belt or in a bucket on a rope. tools need to be brought up some other way than somebody trying to balance them up a ladder. And then keep your body between those side rails. Don't overreach. Take that extra time to climb down, move your ladder over, and climb back up. So those are the basics of ladder safety. Why are we continuing to have fall-related accidents? Well, ladders weigh too much. We already talked about that. So ladder companies have made lighter ladders, about 20% lighter than we have in the past. So know that there's lighter options on the market that will allow you to do the same work with 20% less weight. So you'll have less shoulder, back, soft tissue injuries. Don't step off the ladder too early. This is seems like a minor thing, but about 1 in 5 accidents on A-frame ladders happen because people miss that bottom step coming down fast, or completely step off because they think they're at the bottom, come down on their ankles and knees, or step on something on the ground and fall completely backwards. So sometimes that bottom step, next to bottom step, is more dangerous statistically than the top of the ladder. More people step off early than fall off the top. So one way to do that is this indicator at the bottom that actually conditions the climber to know that the bottom step is different than all of the other steps on their ladder. When they climb it, it actually makes a clicking noise and vibrates. It conditions the technician or the user to know, I'm not going to step off until I hear that click again. Then we want to use the right ladder for the job. Again, having a ladder that's multifunction, so that if it's not big enough for the job, we can change it to a larger size. But sometimes what it means, especially around offices, schools, hospitals, any of those places, is having something. We don't want somebody in the office to have to go down to the janitorial closet and drag a 6-foot A-frame through the hallway in the middle of the day. What we want is something lightweight, something portable, something that's going to be industrial rated, that's going to open and give them the ability to walk up, pull that part off either at a 2-step, 3-step, or a 4-step, and allow them to get up to that work safely, but have a compact, lightweight option, either in aluminum or fiberglass, that's going to allow them to do the work, but not have to carry a big 6-foot A-frame down the hallway to get that done. Now, lastly, we want to jump over here and talk about what do we do with the ground not being level, and how do you deal with it on a job site? If a ladder isn't level and you're using bricks and boards to level it, even if it is level and somebody overreaches, because ladders are straight up and down, it's really easy to get a ladder to tip, especially an extension ladder. With outriggers at the base, and really, I truly believe that this is the future of extension ladders with every company across the board. This is just a safer design. This is going to get people home at the end of the day. This allows you to adjust both sides of your ladder, more than doubling the width at the base. And even if I break the number 1 rule of ladder safety, which is not getting outside of that footprint, you can see that in the middle of the room, I'm unable to tip this ladder over just because those outriggers are so secure that it gives me that added stability. If the ground isn't level, I still have the ability to level to the ground, and now out in the dirt, I can just level one side longer, not only leveling to my work surface, but having that wider base to work from. And then lastly, in our bigger projects, we have cages at the top of our platforms. If you just roll to the pictures of that being used in a staircase, the beauty of that is we can now work in all of those locations that we couldn't put a scissor lift. We wouldn't be able to do a traditional ladder. We'd have to set scaffolding. With the newer products on the market, we can work from a 42-inch guardrailed system at the top of a non-conductive fiberglass base that adjusts to the levelness of the ground. So a lot of technology out there. We looked at that plan, provide, train, plan out the dangers. If we can't do that, then provide the right tool for the job. Don't just settle for training. Make sure that you have the right product for the job that's going to eliminate the dangers by design, and then train people how to use them properly. So, Bob, I don't know if we have a lot of questions or gray areas that people have asked. I'll let you moderate on that. And
All right. I just got a couple comments that said they're thankful for all the information, a lot of good information. But if you have some questions, please put them in the chat, and we're glad to answer them.
Stump the ladder guy. While we're doing that, we have this really cool studio here at Little Giant. If you guys have a different angle of this room, we shoot ladder safety training from here. I think this is the 6th one of the day. We're doing it not only over the country, but we did 12 different countries last month alone, where we're teaching ladder safety from this studio. This is one of 3 we have here on premises. We are first and foremost the ladder factory. So just 100 yards that direction is our manufacturing floor here in Springville, Utah, just an hour south of Salt Lake City, where we're making ladders here in the United States 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And we're really proud we have people working for us. Like myself, I started in 1982. A lot of these people are family because they've been with us for over 30 years making quality, innovative products that solve safety problems by design. And so we're really proud not only to bring a safety message and provide that not only to OSHA, but to your company if you would like us to teach virtually from this studio platform, but also to have really quality products being innovated for today's safety. So, Bob, any questions?
Yep, Dave, the first question was, can you use the top step of the smaller ladders that have the raised bar?
Yes, so a true platform ladder, you notice, doesn't have the top step that holds the sticker that says this isn't a step, don't stand here, which allows you to have a platform at the top. That platform is a standing platform. The beauty of that is it centers the climber in the middle of that A-frame, and it puts them right up against their work. So you're not reaching from the side of an A-frame. You can go right into your job by using a platform. Some major general contractors are actually requiring a platform style ladder. And Little Giant makes theirs in this high-vis green with a big platform at top, and then that lightweight design, but still being 375-pound rated. And then the jumbo, of course, is my favorite. While I've got you guys on the line, some of you might be getting old like me. I've had a jumbo for 40 years at my house. I can't jump in the back of my pickup truck anymore. I have to do the old man sit down, and so I just push my jumbo up against the tailgate. Now I've got a staircase that actually goes straight into the back of my truck. Allows me to load in and load out without having to jump in and out. Again, safety by design, but that's really one of my favorite products. So thanks for asking.
Next question was, will ANSI be updating their standards based on the updated equipment, or are they already approved when manufactured?
Yes and yes. We do. There is kind of if it meets all of the requirements, then it passes the test kind of a thing. But OSHA is, ANSI is constantly in committee changing rules. We just recently changed the accessory rule for leg levelers and standoffs, things of that nature. The American Ladder Institute, which is the industry organization that we're representing today, actually funds the ANSI committee. And so we sit on that board with other ladder companies and with our engineering staff and make those decisions. and we're constantly revising the ANSI standard. Again, ANSI is who tells us how to make a ladder. OSHA's how you use the ladder once it's made. So that's the distinction between the two for everybody is ANSI gives us a book that tells us how we should build the ladder. OSHA wants to make sure you're using it correctly on the job site.
Next one was, can you clarify when most employees ask when additional fall protection is required when using a ladder?
Yeah, so technically, even on a 40-foot extension ladder, fall protection isn't required. But when fall protection becomes required, now here's why it's not required. We don't want anybody tying off to a ladder that's not tied off to anything. So then that would just take the ladder with you and beat you up on the way down. Fall protection becomes required when you're transitioning from that ladder to a higher landing or roof line, and you're going to be doing something beyond an inspection or an appraisal. So for a home inspector with a clipboard, they could climb on a ladder, walk to where they need to and walk back without being tied off. But if somebody was going to be doing work on that roof, they would need to put in an engineered anchor point and people would need to tie off as they transitioned onto that roof line. Does that make sense? It's a
next question is, how do you use the A-frame ladder even with the legs locked in with a stationary foot?
A-frame ladder with
The legs locked in with a
legs locked
stationary
in.
foot.
So stationary foot would be, I'm guessing, the foot that's on here would be considered stationary when compared to something like this, which has a pivoting foot that allows that to go into a spike or a platform that would move. The key to that is this foot is designed to be used in the position, but 75 degrees is still the rule for a closed A-frame like it would be for a short extension ladder. So that foot is set at that 75 degrees. The house pad sits at that flat at 75 degrees. You want to make sure that as much of that foot is making contact as possible. So make sure that your ladder is leaned at that proper 75 degree or 4-to-1 angle before you use it in the closed leaning position or in the extension.
All right. Any other questions? That's the last one I have in the chat box.
Bob, I so appreciate the fact that you set this up, and I know we've talked about ladders before. It's just, when we hear the statistics at the start of the meeting and the fact that they're dealing with fatalities on a regular basis because of ladder safety, if it's easy to do ladders, it's also easy not to do. And so we need to stress the importance by letting them know the statistics, the dangers, and then providing the right tool for the job and training them to use it correctly on the job. So again, thank you, Bob, for setting this up and your support of Little Giant. We appreciate it. From the Little Giant Studios, be safe, and I'll turn it back over to you, Bob. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate it. Thanks. All right. So that concludes our presentation. Subject to any questions you might have, I just want to remind you that this is a presentation of the, whoops, let me get to the right slide. This is a presentation from our Construction Safety Leadership Alliance that we conduct monthly meetings. So hopefully we'll be doing more of the live webinars that we can share with a wider audience. But if you're in the Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington area, we'd welcome to have you join us. We usually meet every third Tuesday of every month, and we'll be trying to do more of these webcasts, and we try to get to a larger audience. But again, on behalf of the Construction Safety Leadership Alliance, the University of Texas at Arlington OSHA Education Center, Region 6 OSHA. And again, thank you to all those presenters from OSHA for their statistics and inside information. And I really think the heartfelt, just trying to feel the impact of having to write a letter to somebody because they lost their loved one in a needless and preventable accident. And as Dave's presented to us, there is a greater technology now available to make that not happen and really not complicated. They make it very simple if you get the right tool for the job. And again, the ladder is a common tool that we abuse and misuse. So get the right tool for the job. And finally, the American Ladder Institute for hosting and sponsoring March as Ladder Safety Month. So thank you. We look forward to seeing you in the future. And again, stay safe and use that ladder safely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob, and take care.
You too. Thank you all.
Thank you.